And it came to this couple who looked uncomfortable. They said, well, our son's name is Tyler, but he's not dead yet. And I said, oh my God, I talk about proactive grieving. I said, seriously, I said, you're here at a grief group. He said, well, our son is dying of a brain tumor. And we heard about you coming, and we wanted to help. Maybe this will help us on our journey because he's actively dying. He hasn't eaten in a week. And they read so they talked, they bought my book. And in the book, I have a story about this very powerful rosary. It's got a lot of stories to it. I've lent it to 14 people now that have had a miracle healing because of this rosary. That some of the healing, they died, but sometimes death is the ultimate healing in some cases. But regardless, they said, do you have that rosary? Our son is dying. Can we get that rosary? So they came over to I said, no, it's with a woman I gave it to 3 years ago. She's surviving. She had pancreatic cancer. It's unheard of. She was living this long, but she wanted to see her kids graduate. But I said, I haven't got it back yet. The next day, here we go into synchronicity again. Now the next day, I get a call from my sister who said, some lady stopped at my house because she saw my mailbox, said Carmody on it, and said, are you related to Mitch? If you are, can you give him this rosary? I don't need it anymore. I said, oh my God. So I called the Harlickers right away. I said, hey, I got the rosary back. You won't believe it. I said, I'm going to meet my sister at Taco Bell at noon. And they go, we'll be at your house 2 hours later then. So they drove from Wotan to my house 2 hours later, came over. I gave the rosary, put it on Tyler, and immediately he started eating Cheetos and wanted a root beer. And they said, he hasn't eaten or drinking anything. And he started smiling, and they said, you want to lay down or sit down? No. He said, I want to see pictures of Kelly, because I'm going to heaven, and I want to see what he looks like when I get there. This little 9-year-old boy talking, and he goes, well, what's heaven like anyway? I said, the only way I can describe heaven, I think, that you'll understand is, have you ever seen the movie, the Polar Express? He goes, yeah. I said, it's just like that. You get on this train, you take a magical train up to a magical place where everything is beautiful and gifts and it's wonderful, and then you take that train back down. But you can't get off the train. But you can wave through the window, and your mom and dad know you're on that train, and they'll be on the outside waving to the window, so you can come back and talk to them anytime you want. And they can wave to you, but you go back up to a wonderful place. He goes, that's cool. A week later, his dad called me, said Tyler was actively dying a week later. And he said, and he's laying in his bed, and he's saying, Daddy, Daddy, he's crawling like this, and he's crawling like up a ladder, and he's took the crucifix off, and he's going like this. He said, what are you doing, son? He goes, I'm trying to unlock the door to heaven, but they won't open it. And he said, son, don't worry, the angels will come, the angels will come. He finally went back to sleep. An hour later, he woke up, and he said, Daddy, I see a light, I see a bright light, and I think I see Jesus. And he closed his eyes, and he died. So this is two little boys that saw a religious figure that were not raised in that environment. They just saw something. So it gave the parents, that gave the parents so much to survive this journey of the grief. Now they become good friends, and I've kept up with them afterwards now, and it's amazing the friendships you get on this journey. But, and now you're dealing with their siblings, helping their siblings understand. But they're getting signs all the time because they're so open to it. And they know that Tyler's going to communicate. Tyler knew that he could communicate. They gave him a code word. We gave our son a code word. Both of our sons came back with the code word at different times. My son had the word turkey. They had the word, it was a hawk. And a hawk came at this little boy at the brother's house, pecking on the bedroom window, a hawk. And he was his own sign. He goes, I didn't tell anybody, but I asked Tyler for a hawk. So it does happen. Signs after the death has occurred. Finding objects, pennies, quarters, whatever you want. But once you identify that it is your sign, you'll get more because they know that you know. And when they know that you know, it gives them more opportunity to give you signs, and you're more aware. Seeing animals, like I said, many different varieties, any living being almost. I mean, you know, if you live in Florida, you're not going to ask to see a penguin. You know, I mean, you got to be realistic. You know, you got to ask for something that is around, that is available. You know, let's not make it too hard on them. You know, years ago you heard about poltergeists. You know, well, but back then they had to knock pans off the walls because no one believed this stuff. Now you have a butterfly. It's much easier for them to jump into a butterfly, I think, than knock a pan off the wall. So, or a ladybug. So we look for those easy signs. Give them a break. Let them give us the easy signs. And rainbows, shooting stars, plants blooming. Apophenial images. Anybody know what that means? Apophenia, I love it because no one, even in 800 people, no one knew what apophenia meant. And I'm not even sure how I found it. One of those God things, I think. But everybody has the ability. If you've ever a child looking at the clouds and staring up and you see a poodle in the sky, see something in the clouds, or see a face in the grain of a wood door, that's apophenia. It's the mind's ability to take random bits of information and put it into a recognizable, discernible form. There was a book years ago called The Cat's Eye, and you'd stare at these little dots, and if you looked at it long enough, you'd see these pictures coming out. So it's the mind actually putting it together. It is there. You're seeing this image. This. Anybody see a face in there? This sold on eBay for like $20,000. Some woman in Florida 10 years ago was fixing her daughter a grilled cheese sandwich, and the girl took a bite out of it, and the mom says, "Stop! The Virgin Mary's in there." And so she kept it all these years. And I think it looks more like Michelle Pfeiffer. And I've also heard Marilyn Monroe. I even heard Michael Jackson in the later years. But you see that, anybody not see the face? You don't see the face? Here's the eyes, nose, little lips, her little kind of that 1920s hairdo, bangs coming over a little bit. You see it now? Yeah. So once you see it, you can't unsee it. This is the clouds. I took a Sharpie and traced over the edges of it, but someone had this online that they thought it was Michael the guardian angel. They see an angel. Can you see the face of the angel and the wings? Even the arm, and even like someone said, it looks like he has a cross on the neck. That's apophenia. This is my backyard. It was on Kelly's birthday. My wife was out there and screamed, "Get the camera, there's a heart." And it was on Kelly's birthday. We saw a heart. Can you see the big heart in the clouds? Hearts are huge. Hearts are huge. A friend of mine, this bereaved mom, she and what I tell about telling other people about your story, tell people. Because Carol she says, Mikey is so much with me all the time. He's giving me signs. I tell everybody about the hearts he sends me. And she goes back to work on Monday, and one of her workmates come up, is going to get coffee, and he grabs her coffee cup, and she goes, "Carol, Mikey's coming to me now." And I showed this one to Father Jim, and he says, "Oh, I see the chalice of Christ in there." He sees a chalice, like the Holy Grail. So that's what Father saw. Everybody sees a different thing. She saw the heart, Father saw the chalice. Carol, neighbor, comes running over. "Carol, I cooked the kids' breakfast. I made waffles. I took the waffle bowl out of the washer. Mikey's coming to me now." So Mikey's really busy. And so they don't come to you, they can come to someone else. So you spread the news that you want this news so they can give it to you. Another mom gets hearts, she gets strawberry. She sends me hearts pictures. This is a completely different mom. This is a story. This is a rock with a rabbit on it. And I'm showing that even if you're signed, like the girl that had died, their daughter died, she loved rabbits. She even, in her car, when she died, I think she was 21 years old, but she had her stuffy with her. You know, it was her little thing. She always loved rabbits. So it doesn't even have to be a real rabbit. It can be a sign of a rabbit. Like this, it's a rock. She was walking on the beach, set her purse down. Her husband says, "I don't believe in the sign stuff." They just had heard about this. And she said, "Well, just ask for a sign." So he's okay. And then they walk in. She goes, "Oh, I forgot my purse." Goes back to get her purse. This rock is sitting next to her purse with a rabbit on it. And he goes, "How's that possible?" They took it in and analyzed. It's just a rock with some quartz. But the only way you see it, it was perfectly set like this. It's a big rock. But from the side, you wouldn't even see it. But it happened to be propped up against her purse. You know, granted, it looks like a Playboy sticker, but it's still a rabbit. This woman, she gets butterflies all the time. Kim Sellingham, she sent this story to me. She said she gets signs all the time. of butterflies. And her husband is a non-believer either. And they're on the beach, and they're standing there talking. And a wave comes up, and he said, they were talking about signs, and this wave comes up, deposit this mollusk shell between his feet. It's not a butterfly, it's a mollusk shell. They're ugly gray things, and this is just beautiful, and little sparkles on it, and it looks like a beautiful butterfly. So it doesn't have to be the actual butterfly. We were doing this workshop in Florida, and this man, at the beginning of the workshop, like the beginning of the workshop day, we did an 8-hour day. And we talked about your loss in the beginning, and I talked to this man, and he was just this broken, disheveled when he's talking about his daughter, 16 years old. They had gone on vacation swimming at a campground in Florida somewhere. They could not find their daughter, looking all over for her. They went down to the beach, said maybe she went for a midnight swim. They went down to the beach, saw her clothes laying on the edge of the beach, and part of her arm floating in the water. She had been eaten by an alligator alive. And so he was just seeing the look in his face described. It's a double-bladed sword from someone who dies in our lifetime, in our life. The one side is their death that had occurred. The other side is the circumstances of the death. He will never get that vision out of his head of finding his daughter like that and knowing that that is how she died. Like living with loss and regret. He's living with that image for the rest of his life. He'll never get it out of his image, out of his brain. But in the afternoon, I saw him when we were doing this class, and he's sitting at the table like a new grandpa with a baby. Mitch, come here, come here, come here. I want to see my picture. And he's just like a whole different man. And he had this picture. I go, yeah, what's this picture? He said, well, my daughter that died, I took my living daughter, and we went to Appalachia to take some. She borrowed my old Pentax camera, was taking pictures for high school for a photograph contest in black and white. So she took these pictures, a bunch of mountain pictures. At the school, they hung them all up. The dean of the school was hanging them up, and he goes, you know when I was hanging these up, because she won a prize? It was the oddest thing. When I flipped it sideways, he goes, and the dad just screamed, he goes, that is my daughter. That looks just like my daughter. Can you see the image of the woman? The lips, the face, the shoulder, the eyes, almost like she's got feathers, wearing a feathered hat. Wow. And he was so excited. He knew this was something from his daughter, a sign from his daughter. And here's his daughter, that's Michelle. Wow. How do you explain this stuff? A few feet down the road, you never would have got this picture. The timing is everything. And this has given them, nothing else can give your heart that warmth and that sense of relief than when you get a sign of this magnitude. Synchronicity and serendipity. Synchronicity is the timing of events. Serendipity is finding something out of place, out of time. That is something wonderful, a wonderful event. You know, the synchronicity is you bend over to pick up something and you miss the rock that goes flying over your head, and whew, I just missed that. And then you find a $10 bill. That's serendipity. And you pick out the $10 bill. So that's the difference. But these things do happen. And radios, TV, celestial events, billboards, and license plates are really getting big. Pay attention to license plates. Especially with personalized license plates, they can really give you a message just when you need it most. People and numbers. Numbers make a huge. So Alan's number is 1111. He gets 11. I've been with him. We've gone to we were going to Fargo. We look at, how far we got to go? Oh, it's 1111. Looked at the speedometer. It was 1111 miles on your speedometer, wasn't it, right? Then we get up to it was just, and then he said room numbers were 1111. And I mean, these things happen.
Today's the 11th.
Pardon?
Today's the 11th.
And today's the 11th. It happens. And so it's just paying attention to these things and putting them together. When Alan and I go, I stay on the road. We're up in Fargo, North Dakota. This wasn't Fargo, but we're in Fargo and we're driving by to do an event. We're going to take a left. We're at a stop sign, and this Ashley furniture truck pulls up next to us. And I go, hey, Alan, Ash is here. Truck turns to take a left, Kelly in. Right there. I go, hey, Kel, our kids are together. We're on vacation with our kids. That's what we call it when we're on the road. So then he's on the way to a conference, and he stops on the side of the road with him and Denise, take this picture. They're here again. So there's no magic in the building. Those buildings are there. But it is our perception. We're aware. We're looking now, and we're getting them. And you cannot deny the rush of good feeling that you get when this happens. So another person, smiley faces. The woman who sent me this smiley face cap, she gets smiley faces. This is a picture of her son. It was on the anniversary date, and they were camping. And they looked up and took a picture. You see the smiley face? Big smiley face in the clouds. That is the signifier for her. That's her sign. And once you identify your sign, it's amazing how they come, how they flow in. Meg in heaven. This woman sent me this. Her daughter Megan died. She's driving down the road. As we say, she's having a Megan day. I know how it feels, right? In the car, something about the car, you're in the seclusion of a car, you fall apart. I agree, right? Going to work or where you're driving somewhere, and she's just she's banging her head in the steering wheel at a stoplight and just crying. And she says, Megan, I miss you so much. Please give me a sign. The light turned green and the car ahead of her pulled up. That was on there. And she goes, yes, Megan. Then she followed the car. She followed it to a whole another suburb, pulled up in the driveway behind the woman, and says, can you tell me about your license plate? And she said her daughter, Megan, had died the year before. And so now they've become moms. They've become bereaved mom friends. And they've established a relationship from the magic of just seeing that license plate. When we were up in Brookings with Alan, we were doing this workshop. And the serendipity of this is this is a dad and his daughter, and the picture they're holding is their daughter who died. We're in Brookings. It's a tiny little town in Oregon on the coast. We're doing this workshop in a hotel. This family comes in, and they're walking down the hallway, and they hear the music. And they leaked in, and they hear Alan singing. And they stopped in anyway. That's supposed to be a joke. They came in, they had that look on their face. And we said, are you a bereaved parent? Because, and they said, well, we recognize the music. And they said, well, we're workshopping. We're talking about signs right now. And they said, well, we got something in the car. Can we bring it in? And so they go out to the car, bring in this piece of driftwood. 6-7 years ago, their daughter had died. They went back to the beach where she loved to go as a family. And this is in Brookings, Oregon. And she loved crosses, war crosses, crosses in her room, loved to go to church. She was all about that. So they're walking along the beach at 10 o'clock in the morning at the exact time of her death. Her sister picked up and found this cross made out of a piece of driftwood, just a floating piece of driftwood on the beach. And they said, yes, is this a sign we go? Everybody in the room goes, yes, it's a sign. And they were so happy, the serendipity of finding a bereaved parent conference in the middle of Oregon and getting the sign at the same time. It was just like sign, 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 sign. And they were just so happy that this happened to their life. This is at TAPS conference. Ever heard of TAPS? It's the Tragedy Assistance Program for survivors of military loss. And I go out there every Memorial Day and speak to the families who have lost someone in the war. And we're losing people, we're losing one soldier a day to suicide. More than they are in combat. It's a huge problem, and we're trying to address. But these people were here. This woman here on the right, wanted a sign. She said, I was here last year at the conference, and my husband's name was Bear. That was his handle, was Bear. And I said, I want a bear. And I was here last year, and I said, I want a bear so bad. And then I bought some tickets, and I won a bear at the silent auction. And I know I got my sign. So she's coming this year. And there's a little trouble in trying to repeat signs. You can ask for them, but when you get a good one. But anyway, she says, well, I want another bear. And she said, I came, and there's no silent auction this year. And the woman next to her, just standing there grinning like a Cheshire cat, said, well, I thought there was a silent auction too, so I brought a gift. But they didn't have it. So I have it here in my bag, and I thought I'd give it to anybody that needed it. She pulls out a bear. This says love and a big heart. So they got their sign right in the workshop. Good friends of ours now, I can't even say their last name, Jessica's parents. And their daughter, Jessica, died. They were going to the